Friends, Part 2, written by yours truly. It was an odd silence. Hwaein wasn't keen on it, and neither was Itsuki, but neither of them seemed to be able to break out of the awkward shell they were in. That was, until there was no option when Hwaein tripped over a rock in the middle of a crosswalk, and Itsuki had to help her up. They got across perfectly fine, but Itsuki was a little mad. "Were you trying to get yourself killed?" "You're overreacting." Hwaein rolled her eyes, noticing a candy shop from the corner of one of them. "Hey, do you have money?" Itsuki raised a brow. "Yes, and why?" "Let's pop in there," she said, throwing down her board and skating toward the shop. It was small, but quaint from Hwaein's perspective. Itsuki knew he had to meet up with his sister later for more practice at home, but for some reason, he didn't seem to mind that he knew he wouldn't be heading home anytime soon. He pulled out his phone and sent a quick message to his sister. "Hey, Scorpio, do you prefer sour or sweet?" He thought about it. "I'm more of a sour person." The girl grinned, "Thought so," then spun around and flew in another direction, that which she came. Itsuki thought she was funny. Not weird, but funny. Definitely fun to be around. He kind of hated himself for not knowing there was a person like this in his class before. She even sat right in front of him, and he only noticed when she apologized for bumping his desk. It almost angered him as much as when people spoke about his family in a bad way. He felt like he'd overlooked her somehow. He knew he wasn't the only one, but he also knew he most likely was the only person to ever care. It wasn't exactly the fact that she bumped into his desk, though that was what initially caused him to look up. It was the fact that she avoided looking into his eyes. Normally, this would be a red flag for him, a sign of dishonesty, but her words were so sad, and her tone so light. Like if she wasn't careful, he'd hit her, or something like that. He wanted to know why. Maybe that made him nosy, but he couldn't find it in him to feel shame. "Hey, Scorpio, I'm done. Let's pay." "And by that I assume you mean me?" She looked away and poked her cheek with her tongue. Itsuki sighed and shook his head. "Whatever." Ellen held her board close to her. It was old and beaten up, and the deck looked like it hadn't been changed in a while, which told Itsuki one of two things. Either it was emotionally invaluable, or it was too expensive for Hwaein to get it switched. There were 2 stickers on the underside, but one was really worn, looking like it could be barely readable even if he closely inspected it, and the other had no words, though it looked much newer than the first. It was lilac and white. He thought about giving her another sticker for the collection, but then thought it would probably be weird. He wasn't going to bring it up. He thought he'd just make a note of it. "Let's go to the park tomorrow," Itsuki said. "We can save these for then, assuming some are for me." Ellen turned to him with a serious face. Itsuki raised a brow, and Ellen smiled guiltily. She was acting completely different from before, but she was still not looking him in the eye. It felt like it was normal for her, natural instinct. Itsuki knew she probably hadn't looked anyone in the eyes for some time. Just how long, he couldn't know. Itsuki shook his head and paid. "So, where's this park?" Ellen asked, holding her skateboard ever so close. "Half a mile from my house. I go there sometimes to practice with my sister." "You have a sister?" Itsuki nodded. "She's a year older than me. Us." Hwaein nodded toward Itsuki's racket bag. "She plays soft tennis too?" "Yeah, she's amazing." Itsuki sighed, thinking about his sister always brought him tranquility. She was, next to his mother, the only family he had, and unlike his mother, Itsuki didn't feel like he needed to protect Nami. She was her own person, and more or less protected him than the other way around. "You really adore her." Ellen made it sound so simple, but it wasn't. Nevertheless, now wasn't the time to get into something like that. So, Itsuki said, "Of course." Itsuki was trying to find a way to ask Ellen if they'd be able to walk home every day, but he knew he'd probably be shut down, and there was no way he could stop at the store, walk her home, and skip practice with Nami every day. Maybe they could settle on a few days, like the days he didn't practice with Nami and the days he didn't have practice with the club. Thankfully, one of those days interlined with the other, Fridays. Nami and Itsuki had agreed to practice on Sundays and only exercise on Saturdays to get themselves ready for the next week. Fridays were their free day. They had school, so they got plenty of exercise. As for practicing, since they didn't have club, it was the one day they relaxed. Nami would sleep in, go out with her friends, or sometimes hang out with Itsuki. That would be the perfect day to hang out with Ellen. Maybe if she got comfortable enough, he could go to her house and they could hang out longer than the 2 hours after school. Itsuki didn't even think about the fact that they were in the same class. They could even hang out during class. Itsuki's heart started leaping at all the possible chances he'd have to hang out with Ellen. Hey, Scorpio? Ellen brought Itsuki back to the present time. She wasn't looking into his eyes as usual, but she had stopped and Itsuki looked down to where he felt his sleeve being tugged. There her hand was, pulling slightly to grab his attention. Was she calling him for a while then? Yeah? His expression fell into a soft and serious one. He looked into her eyes as best he could, with her looking at his chest or shoulder or wherever it was she was looking. We're here. Itsuki looked up but didn't tug his arm from her grasp, and she didn't let go. She was actually teetering on her heels, and it might have been his imagination, but he swore the tug became tighter every second, as if she were debating something between herself. Itsuki didn't want to rush her, for fear of her not saying what she clearly wanted to say. She took a deep breath and whispered, "You will be the first person." Itsuki didn't really know what that meant, but before he could try responding, she added, "Keep walking me home, okay?" He let a small smile fall to his lips. "Every Friday work for you?" "Sure." She looked away. "I should get inside now. It's pretty late." "Yeah, it is." Itsuki turned toward the sky, his sleeve still in Ellen's grasp. Eventually, she let it go and made her way up to the stoop. Itsuki watched her as she fumbled for her keys. She waved before she walked inside, and when Itsuki waved back, he said, "See you tomorrow." Ellen bent down and pulled something out of the bag. "For the park." She threw it at him. "It's a Friday, right?" Itsuki caught the thing and examined it. A super sour strawberry bag. He smiled to himself. "I knew you were lying." Because he could tell whenever Ellen was truly being genuine. Her eyes would slowly move closer to the eye of the person she was speaking to. She'd look at his nose when she'd apologized, and his neck when she'd asked him to keep walking her home. But she'd looked at the counter, away from him when she'd said none of the candy was for him. Everyone had to tell that was hers. He had a feeling she was holding out on a few more snacks, but he wasn't going to push it. Itsuki wanted to be patient with Ellen. He knew that would be the best way to win her over, and he wanted to, so badly. He didn't know why, like a lot of things, but he knew he wanted to become someone special to her, to the point where she could look him in the eyes one day. Itsuki stopped, bracing a hand to one side of his face, his cheek burning. Is that what she meant? That he would be the first person? The first eyes? Itsuki's stomach did somersaults all the way home. Hi everyone! So I know I've been gone forever, but I just want to give you an update. I am dropping out of math, so I'm not taking trigonometry no more. Eat that! Anyways, so I will have a lot more free time after school because I normally spend like an hour and a half, maybe sometimes 2 hours, or 3. I don't even know, because I just can't with the math, and my math teacher is the only teacher who gives homework every day. I have history, and that he gives us homework maybe every week, and it's super easy. And then we just have to take notes, and then what else? I think for English we read stuff, but I like reading, so. And then what else? AP psychology, we just take notes. We also read for that class too. Yeah, and then I have theater, art, teacher academy. Teacher academy, I still have one assignment, but I can do that during the class period, Does that make sense? Anyways, yeah, so I dropped it. No more Math, woohoo! Anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna have a lot more time on my hands. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have an amazing morning, have an amazing evening, have an amazing afternoon, whenever you are, and I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Yeah, goodbye everyone!